Somehow, Republicans have effectively propagandized concerns about President Biden's age and fitness for office while navigating that minefield for Donald Trump, who is considerably less fit for office than Biden. Yet despite that, three very different prominent public officials seem to believe that Biden is much more competent than the bad faith Republican talking points suggest. But before we unpack all that, if you haven't yet, please hit that like, subscribe, and the alert bell. Maybe check out my Patreon. I'd appreciate the support. All right, folks, again, let's make no bones about it. We are unapologetically, progressively partisan on this channel, Pondering Politics. We don't pretend to be enlightened centrists. And since the Democratic Party is the closest vehicle to progressive policy changes, we support the Democratic Party in as much as we can. We support President Biden in as much as we can because he has governed much more effectively and progressively than he ever campaigned on. And we just have to be honest about that. But we also have to acknowledge the challenges that Biden faces in 2024. One of them is the perception, the bad faith, asymmetrical perception that he is somehow unfit for office and he's too old for office. Polling shows voters remain concerned about re-electing Biden, who would be 86 at the end of a second term. They have fewer age concerns with the 77-year-old Trump. A Monmouth University poll released Monday found 76% of voters believe Biden is too old to effectively serve a second term, compared to 48 who said the same about Trump. Now, this is bewildering to me, given Donald Trump's infinitely greater incompetence and the fact that he is as prone as Biden is to make gaffes. Yet despite that, there are three very prominent public figures who believe, and you'll be surprised at some of the names that we give, who seem to believe that actually the talking points about Biden are pretty bad faith. And I want to start with General Mark Milley, chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. He actually retired just a few days ago. He served under Trump and Biden, and the question was posed to him on his way out the door.
President Joe Biden has been portrayed by his political opponents and even some of his allies as too old to be president. I'm not asking for your political opinion here, but how does he seem to you?
Look, I'm not going to comment. I didn't comment on the former president's mental health, physical health, and I'm not going to comment on the current president's mental health or physical health. I think that's highly inappropriate for the senior officer of the United States military to do that. Mm-hmm. I would just tell you that I meet frequently with the president, and every single time I meet with him, he is just fine. How people interpret that is up to them, but I engage with him frequently and alert, sound, does his homework, reads the papers, reads all the read-ahead material, and is very, very engaging in issues of very serious matters of war and peace and life and death. So if the American people are worried about an individual who is, someone who's making decisions of war and peace and has access to, makes the decisions of nuclear weapons and that sort of thing, I think they can rest easy.
And that's coming from a guy who served under Donald Trump, who, even though he never publicly disparaged Trump, reportedly he agreed with Nancy Pelosi in the aftermath of January 6th that Donald Trump was deranged. But one of the things that Mark Milley said there was that Biden does his homework and he's very engaged with the material. He's educated on the subject. Report after report after report of former Trump officials say that that was never the case for Donald Trump. So that is one clear, decisive advantage that Biden has over Trump. The second major public figure that I have for you is Kevin McCarthy himself. This is a report from Politico. So the waters were choppy with McCarthy in the speaker's chair, too. People close to the president considered McCarthy a fickle and unpredictable partner. When McCarthy met with Biden in person, he typically presented himself as a sober negotiator, clear-eyed about the give and take of bipartisan governance. Then he would go out in public and brag about his refusal to bend on conservative demands. And this is the important part. On a particularly sensitive matter, McCarthy mocked Biden's age and mental acuity in public, I think talking about getting him soft food once, while privately telling allies that he found the president sharp and substantive in their conversations, a contradiction that left a deep impression on the White House, and I bet it did. And that has been reported, too, in the past as well. That, sources close to McCarthy said that actually, during the negotiations, the president was a tough negotiator and he was substantive and he was engaging and he kept McCarthy on his toes. The last person is another Republican, Matt Gaetz, who said this on the floor of Congress as well with respect to, again, the bad faith talking points about President Biden's decline.
So let me get this straight. To extend Joe Biden's spending and Joe Biden's policy priorities, the Speaker of the House gave away to Joe Biden the money for Ukraine that Joe Biden wanted. It is going to be difficult for my Republican friends to keep calling President Biden feeble while he continues to take Speaker McCarthy's lunch money in every negotiation.
100% true. So anyway, I thought you might find that interesting. Again, Democrats have a tough road ahead, and so does the Biden administration. They're playing on an uneven media terrain, right? Again, the Republicans are just graded on a curve. Trump commits gaffe after gaffe after gaffe after gaffe. He talks about, how you can nuke hurricanes to stop them, how George Washington, stormed the airports during the Revolutionary War, even though airplanes didn't exist at the time. All the things recently talking about windmills killing whales, confusing Jeb Bush with George W. Bush. It goes on and on and on. The media doesn't seem interested. They're both siding it. They're like, well, Trump is crazy, but we have to balance that with something. Biden's old, and these things are like equally bad and whatever, when the reality is, as John Lovett from Pod Save America said, it's a choice between old Biden and old and crazy in Trump, and that's just simply a fact.